Amy, out of your face.
All right, welcome everybody to our 8-week marketing job mastery, how to land a marketing job in 8 weeks. My name is Albert, and I'm of Albert's List, and Andrea is the Millennial Career Coach. And we're gonna get started today, and we wanna welcome you all here to this presentation. So our agenda, really quick, before Andrea goes into the introduction, goals, and the 8-week model, is basically this. We're going to talk a little bit about what we want to accomplish with all of you today as we go through this particular presentation. We're going to talk a little bit about how we look at marketing and how you can get into marketing in the next 8 weeks of your life, if that's something you're interested in. Why marketing is the place to be. I mean, you know, a lot of you may be working remotely, and you might want to have something that's a little bit more exciting. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. Then we're going to talk about getting interviews, landing that job, and we're going to talk to you about something that you can walk away with today if you like all this information that we're about to provide you in our upcoming bootcamp program. And then we'll open for question and answers. Over to you, Andrea. I'm going to let you go. Actually, hold on. I can't give this one. This is mine. So
this is literally your baby.
Yeah. So
we'll keep on going.
This is sponsored by Albert's List. We were founded in 2013, and we're a job search community with almost 46,000 job seekers, hiring managers, recruiters, career coaches, and more. And we have weekly virtual events since COVID started here that include everything from mock interviews to hiring fairs to workshops. And we're here to collaborate with you to help you find your next job. We have various different connections, and we're always here to make sure that you can find your next job and get the support that you need. And you can join us at Albert's Job Listings and Referrals, San Francisco Bay Area. That is our largest community here. And it's there at the bit.ly link below. I'll go ahead and share it here after we're done with the slide and I move on to Andrea. And just let us know that you attended this webinar, found us on Eventbrite, and we will let you right in.
Yeah, well, before we get into that, you know, if there's anything else you'd like to share about your background before I share my story.
Yeah, so as I'm founder of Albert's List, I'm also a marketer by trade. And so this is near and dear to my heart because I've been doing marketing for the last 11 years. There's always an opportunity to give back, provide some real good value. I'm currently a content marketing manager, senior content marketing manager and strategist at Oracle, which for those of you who do not know, is a software company here in the San Francisco Bay Area. I've also worked at companies like Cisco and HP Enterprise, doing various marketing. So if B2B marketing is something of interest, you have come to the right place, and we will talk to you about everything marketing, at least from the business to business perspective. Andrea, over to you.
Yeah, so like Albert, I'm also a marketer by trade. I have 10 years of experience under my belt. The first half of my career, and I've worked with a couple of ad tech startups based in New York City. Most of our clients, though, were some of the biggest media agencies based here. So Digitas, MediaVest, OMD, to name a couple. I've been involved with mostly direct-to-consumer marketing, all things digital with some traditional mixed in there. So and some of the brands, the campaigns that I've worked on were some pretty big 6-7 figure ad campaigns for Sprint, CoverGirl, P&G, Unilever Clear, Jackson Hewitt, Red Bull, to name a few. Like literally for a year and a half, if you saw a Sprint banner on your phone, I was the one that put that there because I was responsible for all of trafficking all of their mobile banner spend. Working with agencies and just being in that side of in the advertising industry, it wasn't going to be the best fit for me in the long run. So I pivoted into healthcare marketing, where I was involved with just any and all things marketing and community related. I've had a chance to work with some of the largest privately held healthcare continuums based in the Bronx. And yeah, I mean, my story is still going to be written. When I started in the healthcare industry, that's when I became a career coach as well, as I saw that positions that I was screening for, a lot of candidates were not able to market themselves as best as possible. You know, I am, and I'm sure Albert's probably, and you guys in the audience have most likely seen that there's a lot of changes that could happen in your career. And especially like for me, I've been laid off and let go a couple times as well. So I wanted to give back and see if I could help as many people as possible go through their job search and be as empowered as they can be so that they wouldn't make the mistakes that I made. And in the last 5 years, I've helped literally hundreds of people land better jobs in at least 3 months, give or take. But I can, like through this 8-week program, we can see if we can shorten that. And I'm always going to be an advocate for people to ask for more. So, but we will get to that when we do.
Excellent. So you're covered today with both B2B and B2C marketing, and it's going to be an exciting time for the rest of this presentation. And if you decide to move forward with us.
Yeah.
So yeah,
we will, our goal is to have something for everybody. So I know that we have some college students in the audience. We're so happy to have you here, and we're hoping that you'll be able to walk away with something that you take back to your classmates and even your professors. Any junior to mid-level marketers looking to just level up, or even just like anyone in other fields or specialties looking to learn more about marketing and how to break into it. So with all that said and done, why should people get into marketing in the first place? Everybody has a different why. For me personally, and I kind of referenced this before we officially started, but I will share my story again. I was always a creative soul. Before I even knew what I wanted to do with my career, like I wanted to be a singer. I just wanted to just create. my tools, my instruments were my voice and my words. So I'm not going to sing for you guys tonight unless you guys have any requests for that. But I wanted to find an outlet for me to channel that creativity while also making an impact. And for me, marketing was the best fit for me. Got a request for Carla to sing, maybe towards the end. We'll see how tired I am right now. And I think like I was one of the select few that I knew that I majored in advertising when I did my undergrad, and I was able to pursue it. So I know that's not something for everybody, but on the bright side, I think Albert and I can definitively tell you, whatever you learn in an academic environment, it's going to be totally fine. Like it's not going to apply to marketing in real life, because at the end of the day, what people are looking for are going to be like actual results. If you can accomplish things in an academic environment and internships, projects and whatnot, great. There's a way to tell those stories so that you can still show impact. But at the end of the day, that experience is going to matter so much more when you're having interviews. So that's my why for marketing. Albert, do you want to share your why you got into marketing on your end?
Yeah, so my why for marketing really is just that I've always enjoyed connecting with people. I've always enjoyed being able to create just like yourself and really bring attention to really cool things. In this case, for me these days, it's, being in the cloud. So absolutely.
Yeah, and then we have a literal word cloud here.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. And, like for me, one of my motivators is money. So little segue here about the marketing industry as a whole. Well, for one, it is the only function in an organization that's responsible primarily for inbound growth, and then outbound is sales. So that's another reason why like I personally wanted to get involved, because I can say like, hey, my efforts resulted in this amount of growth in this particular instance. So that's why there's always going to be a need for marketing. Every single business, every single industry needs to have some marketing function in order for them to survive. So there's always going to be a need for the skills that you already currently have or you'd be looking to gain. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the marketing jobs added last year for marketing manager were over 300,000. And that's not even including all of the different variations of coordinators, assistants, directors, VPs, and what have you. So we could potentially be looking at least over 1 million in this country alone. Let's not even look into, other parts of the world. And the average salary for a marketing manager nationwide, and this would include major cities, over 140,000. The money is absolutely here for a job that will allow you to be creative and make impact. So these are some of if those are some selling points that I would say for the field as a whole. And this is the hierarchy that you can expect to see in a more established organization. Now, some smaller companies, there might be a more flat structure where there might not even be a lot of people in the middle, or even somebody necessarily calling themselves a CMO. It could just be a VP with like one or two entry level folks, versus say a much more a bigger, more established company like Oracle or Cisco. Anything that's B2B that's going to be handling billions of dollars of money is going to have this structure, bar none. But small to mid-sized companies, this is going to vary. There's going to be different levels to it. So it's going to be up to you in terms of how you'd want to approach and what kind of environments would work best for you. If you want to have that bit of structure and just have more, people just kind of like giving you a little bit more guidance if possible, and just kind of, for lack of a better term, fitting into more of a machine, then being in a larger organization might make the most sense for you, especially if you're starting out. Or if you want to be kind of scrappy and just wear multiple hats, a smaller company with a flatter org chart might also work for you. It totally depends on the culture and how much work you'd want to be able to handle. Now, full disclosure, this might not always be the case sometimes. I think like some bigger companies could have startup tendencies, for better or for worse. It's, and the beautiful thing about our careers is that there's going to be different iterations, one, and each chapter is going to vary in length. Albert could be at Oracle until he retires, or he could, find another job in the next 5 years or so, or, going up the hierarchy and whatnot. The beautiful thing about our careers is that we are still in charge of it, and we get to write it as we go along. Nothing's going to be set in stone. So we'll just keep that in mind. And I'm going to say this from a place of empowerment. So that's something to consider. Now on to Albert to talk about why some job seekers find jobs faster than others, why there could be a struggle, and how can we make sure everybody has a chance. Over to you.
Yeah, so, I want to talk about this a little bit. So one thing that, I've been thinking about at Albert's List for the last 8 years or so is really just to look at what exactly is the job search, right? A lot of us, if you're in a job search right now or considering entering a job search, would love to see your comments in the chat around that. And so one of the things that I've thought about, because I've gone into a lot of jobs, I've been laid off, I've been fired, I've been just always searching, is wondering, why do some job seekers find jobs faster than others? And how come the success rate is so different? And what is sort of the science to finding your next job, right? As a career coach, I know Andrea breaches this question every single day with her clients. And I'm always thinking about it because there are so many of you who end up going onto Albert's List, introducing yourselves, applying for jobs, and asking for advice. And I really wanted to find a way to organize it. And so go to the next slide. And so, I went to work and I thought of a lot of different things. And this next slide that you're going to see here is something that's very similar to something that you might have seen in the past, which is the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. The Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a diagram that is used often both in the marketing and in the survival mentality, because many people are thinking about how they want to get to the next level of their life. And the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I would describe as, is what you need to survive, whether it's the very basic, including food and shelter, or all the way up to the more advanced self-actualization. And so I went to work and thought about it and came up with something that you see here today called the hiring hierarchy. The hiring hierarchy, like the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, addresses everything that companies are looking for from you as the candidate, as you look through your job search experience. Whether it's your ability to come in at the very, very base level with a level of character and resilience, or whether you're coming into the very top and you already have a good level of leadership and you're looking to transform your career into something that is that's different, and also looking to make sense of what you can do to lead a company to the next level. Let's go to the next slide. And so it's a little bit of everything if you go up and down those different levels, right? So number one, you have, if you go back to the previous slide here, if we go back 2 slides here, we divide what we think in terms of 8 weeks into spending 2 weeks in each of these 4 different areas on 4 different levels. And we're going to talk about these levels here in the next couple of moments so that you understand the very, very high level of what you need in order to truly have that marketing and that marketing career that you desire. So let's go to the next slide and talk about the first couple of weeks here. And so the first couple of weeks, when you think about what it is that you need in your marketing career, is really the very basics of who you are as a human being. We all remember when we went back to our entry-level days when we were first out of college. And if you're there in college right now, maybe you identify with this as well, where you're thinking about your identity and what you care about, and what is your message to the world as a human being. Go back, keep going back. You think about who you are in terms of your character. What is it that you bring to the table that makes you unique from other people? And actually, I think we can go forward a couple of slides just thinking about this. And so, yeah, your resilience, right, is number one. You're going to hear a lot of no's. You have to be committed to knowing what it is that you can do, or in case for those who are looking to join a new career, being able to understand what it is that your transferable skills are. And you need to make job hunting a habit. Unfortunately or fortunately, job hunting is very much like sales. And when you're a marketer, it's even more interesting because you also have to put your brand out there. And so when it comes to your level of resilience, and when it comes to your level of your ability to navigate, an 8-week marketing career, you're going to want to be able to survive that and thrive through that entire experience. Next slide. The next piece we have to think about is identity, right? And identity, I think on the slide transitions. There we go. Identity is knowing where you are in your career path. It's being able to understand what it is that you want and knowing how a specific role fits into your path. A lot of us think about individual jobs these days because so many of us are jumping, 1 year after the next. But how do each and every one of these jobs fit in to what it is that you want to do in your career? Right. And all of those things matter, because when you think about when you interview, companies are going to ask you why you want to switch roles and why you want to go from one role to the next. And that's important because you want to be able to tell a story, right? Marketers are all about telling stories and telling the right stories. And in order to tell that story, you need to understand your identity. Next slide.
Yeah. One thing I would like to kind of comment on, especially with quote unquote job hopping, is that especially right now, you might not be able to, as much as you would love to say like, yeah, I'd want to stay with the company until I retire. There's going to be some changes that could come up, layoffs, downsizing, performance related. There's going to be a multitude of reasons, and job security is, I'm going to go so far as to say it's a myth right now. So that's also going to be really important in storytelling and, PR and communications. They'll call it spin. When you are going to be having these conversations, you want to be able to control the narrative so that you're not putting so much emphasis on the quote unquote negatives. These things happen. You don't need to go into that much depth, say like, hey, what happened in this last role? Oh, I got a reorg. That's it. Like, chances are more often than not, your future boss, it's going to happen to them too. So they'll totally understand. And it's not coming from a place of judgment or negativity. They just genuinely want to know, hey, what happened? Especially, God forbid, and life happens. Sometimes COVID has displaced people for a multitude of reasons. Again, this is also a good litmus test to determine whether or not a company is going to be worthwhile for you. And that's also an indicator how they respond to whatever was going on. if they would have any similar sort of grace or just be understanding to your circumstances, and if that's going to be a worthwhile place for you to continue your journey. So, but yeah, we'll expand upon that more if we need to. So, moving on to character.
Yep. So the next piece we want to talk about is character. And so one of the more underrated things I would consider when it comes to your applying for jobs is how willing you are to get out of your comfort zone and what it is that you are around in terms of being around the right people. One thing that we've done in our 8-week program so far is, we've put people all in the same LinkedIn private chat. And that's something you'll learn a little bit about later, where they can support one another all along the way. The other piece of character that you have to consider is how do you show up in the interview process? Interviewing is tough, job hunting is tough. And, for a lot of folks, right, they needed to pay the bills yesterday. But even more so, they needed to be able to figure out a way to survive. But, your average hiring manager does not want to hear that you're looking to try and survive. They want to hear that you are somebody who can add value to their organization. And so being able to distinguish all of that as you go into your job hunting process is a big, big deal. And then another one is being committed. Being committed is a tough one because a lot of people think that they can wake up in the morning, look at their job search and say, hey, I want to get a new job. And then, maybe they put it off for the next 2 to 3 weeks and maybe they don't apply for as many jobs as they could. And commitment at the end of the day is table stakes when it comes to job hunting. You have to make time, you have to find accountability and people to help you, and you have to get in the right mindset and be able to call into that mindset every single day, because that's the only way you're going to be able to find your next job or your first job if that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, and I would say there's no harm in asking for help or just reaching out for people. I think for a long time, it seems as if like job search is just like, oh, I had to do it alone. I have to do this. I have to do that. No, there's a lot more communities. Albert has done a tremendous job building an amazing community on Facebook where people every day are just posting opportunities or just making asks. So I always tell my clients, closed mouths don't get fed. And don't be afraid to speak up and to just ask and see what happens, because you never know. The worst thing that's going to happen is somebody either doesn't get back to you. Nobody's ever going to be like, oh, no, I don't want to help you. Like, then you wouldn't have wanted help from that kind of person in the first place. So
Yep.
Don't be afraid to make that known. So.
All right. So the second week when it comes to looking for your first job or your next job in marketing in 8 weeks is mastering your fundamentals. Let's go to the next slide. So what are the fundamentals exactly when it comes to your job search? There are 3 things. Number 1, it's understanding your fundamentals. What do you want in your next job? What industry do you want to break into? Do you know enough about yourself to be able to make it into that next job? Number 2 is understanding what skills you have, right? We all have a skills inventory. We all have skills that we need to discover, and we're going to go into depth of that in a moment. And then we have to understand what's at stake, which is actually one of my favorite parts. And so go to the next slide. So the first piece is creating an inventory. That's the most important part of your job search. And it makes or breaks your interview because you want to be able to understand what it is that you're great at, what kind of stories you can tell, and how you're going to answer every single interview question. For many of you here who are here today and have looked to transition into marketing, your ability to create an inventory around the questions that are going to be looking at how you transition from one career into marketing is going to be huge. And many job seekers also struggle here because when it comes to looking for a job, they don't understand that there is a risk factor involved. And when it comes to people who aren't in marketing and looking for a marketing job, there is even more risk involved because they want to look for somebody who already has experience. Unfortunately, we all wish that we could be charity cases when it comes to looking for work, and a boss can come to us and say, hey, I feel so sorry for you. I'm going to give you this job offer right here, and you're going to start on Monday, and we're going to pay you lots of money. As much as I would like that to happen for every single one of you in this room, That is just not the case for how job searches work. It is a lot more difficult than that. And creating an inventory is a great way to start because it really gets you clear on how you're going to answer all the questions and make it through the entire process that you're about to jump through.
Mhm.
Next slide. So then there are the fundamentals, right, of what it is that you must do to create that brand in order for you to stand out in the job search that you're about to embark on. And so this is everything from your personal brand that includes your social media presence, your elevator pitch, your resume, how you network, knowing what you want and where to find a job. And as a marketer, it is a lot more interesting in this level because people are going to be looking at how well you promote yourself, in addition to how well you know how to do the work. And so being able to come up with all of these things, write it down, get it refined, is key, because if you don't know any of these things, you're never going to know where you want to end up. Next slide. And so resume fundamentals, right? Those are a big thing that we think about when it comes to thinking about what you want for for your next marketing job. And so if you're creating a resume, you have to keep in mind, the 6-second rule, being able to focus on your highlights, quantifying your work and your results, highlighting those relevant skills and that expertise. And if you're looking to transition from one career into a new career, which is marketing, you're going to have to also be able to transition and connect those highlights that you have in your current career to what you can do in marketing. If you have direct experience, then fantastic. If you need to highlight projects that you've done on the side, then absolutely do that as well.
Yeah. Any volunteer work, any extracurriculars, relevant projects that you've done in school, freelance work, anything and everything that you can quantify and really show an outcome needs to go on here. And I personally cannot stress that enough. And I tell this to my clients all the time. Out of the thousands of resumes that I've seen from both a coaching perspective and a hiring perspective, that's the number one thing that really can make or break a resume. It's just being able to spell out, this is how I was able to make this job my own. And here's how I did it. This is how much growth I have achieved. This is how much money I've saved, et cetera, et cetera.
And for those of you who are on the line tonight, I would love to actually know, while we go to the next slide here, what you are looking to break into marketing from. That way I can get an idea of how I can maybe tailor the next couple of slides to fit the conversation. And so the next thing I want to talk about is your fundamentals of self-awareness. I know that we live in an era now where we talk about self-awareness and it's very woo-wooey and it's very spiritual, but it's really important. I know, but it's really important because knowing what you want, knowing what kind of abundance you have, and creating that abundance in a time that's super, super ambiguous is really important. One of the things that I always tell people to do is to create a list of jobs that you qualify for that you can transition to. So Nan says here that they are a business development representative. And so it's important, right, to know that if you're a business development representative, what skills do you have that transfer over? You're already out there talking to people, getting to know their needs. And that can make you a great customer success person. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, it could also make you a fantastic sales enablement professional because you're able to speak to other salespeople and create presentations that allow them to go into the field, go to the market, and be able to sell effectively to other customers.
Or ABM, account-based marketing too.
Yeah, exactly. Sadiskia says that they are a budget analyst in the public sector. And so, marketing and big data are really big these days. And so if you can look at yourself as a market research analyst or a marketing data analyst or somebody who just pulls analytics and is able to understand how user behavior can influence marketing, then that's a huge thing too, right? And so there's something for everyone, like Andrea said at the very beginning of this. And so we're going to hopefully cover a little bit of that by the end of this presentation. Next slide.
Yeah, I would also say, like, when it comes to self-awareness, it's really important to just, take the time to just discover it for yourself. At the end of the day, like, you can use the job to hone the skills, but the last thing you'd want is to come across like saying like, oh yeah, like the job is going to be my training wheels, when they need somebody to just take something and run with it in some capacity. So there might be an element, like I'm sure you guys could have, and definitely pop in the comments if you guys experience imposter syndrome. it has definitely reared its ugly head for many people at many different points of their career with whatever they could be working on. So that's what I mentioned before. You can overcome that by not being afraid to just ask for help in certain situations, and B, just still kind to, like sometimes imposter syndrome could rear its ugly head if you don't know and if you're afraid to try it. Again, another thing I always tell my clients, feel the fear and do it anyway, because you never know.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Moving on.
So, and then there's personal brand fundamentals that also matter. I mentioned this a little bit earlier. And, it's the second part of knowing what you want, whether it's developing your social media presence, having a message that resonates with other people, creating that list of jobs that you're targeting, developing that elevator pitch, and understanding how the biggest one or two of your biggest achievements can translate into the next role that you're looking to do.
Yep. Okay.
And then there's the job tactic part and understanding where you're going to go and find those jobs. Because as much as we'd all love those jobs to land in our laps, they're not going to. And so how do you become that effective networker? How do you convince people that maybe who don't know you, or maybe people that you've went to school in the past and worked in the past with, that referrals are something that they should give you? What online job sites should you go to if you're gonna, spend time in LinkedIn or Monster, Indeed, or Career Builder and go through all the different interesting intricacies of those platforms? And are you going to use your alumni association's career center? And so, are you doing any of those things? And so we actually have a question here from Lucy, who's streaming us on Facebook. She asks, I've been trying to go from marketing coordinator to manager or marketing operations manager. This is not showing up. People love my resume, my personality, but can't seem to get the job. Sometimes it's because certain skills or expertise I possess are not strong enough. I get major imposter syndrome because of the rejection. Yes. So, these are all the things when it comes to your tactics and your ability to be self-aware, right? And self-awareness is something that you're going to hear me, I think, just pound day in and day out, because, it's what's hot right now, but it's also what gets you in the door, because people see that you're aware of who you are and what you want. And if you put that imposter syndrome aside and you talk about the transferable skills, which I feel like is another term I'm going to be using a lot in today's presentation, then that's going to help you get to the next level. And that goes back to the story that you want to tell. And so, it's all about story, it's about your self-awareness, and it's strategy. So I guess it's the 3 S's there. So next slide.
Story, self-awareness, and strategy. I love it. We could tweet that. I think a couple of things to touch on, especially for that comment, and we can expand upon this a little bit more when we get to that part. Just to answer that comment, one thing to keep in mind with interviewing, back to the story, you want to make sure that you're highlighting your wins where you can. Now, in some cases, unfortunately, like if they do find somebody, employers do want to find somebody that's as close as possible to their ideal candidate. There might be some opportunities that it wouldn't be a fit, and there's nothing, the last thing you want to do is beat yourself up, but instead have that confidence that you still presented the very best version of yourself. But when you are crafting the story, it needs to really focus on the high level. So again, just like redirecting the conversation, so it's not, the hiring team is not concerned about, oh, you might not have this experience here. And that's something else you could ask them, like, okay, if there's any reservations, well, we need somebody with more ops experience. And then you could say, oh, here's another example where I do have that. So redirecting, so you can expand upon that. So hopefully that can answer your question. So moving forward with these interviews, you could have better luck. And with online job sites, there are, another thing we can put on here is that some marketing associations, and even like there's some niche job sites. I know one is mediabistro.com. They have a lot of agencies that recruit for buyers, planners, account execs and whatnot. And we can put together like a little list, but that's definitely something that you guys can look into apart from using LinkedIn and Indeed as well. Great, so moving on.
Yep.
Whoa, I don't know what happened there. There we go. Speaking of interviewing.
Yeah, so the next thing we want to talk about is interviewing. You've spent the first and second week pruning and adjusting your resume as well as your personal brand, and now you're into talking about interviewing, you've got some attention and you got to understand what's at stake. So let's go to the next slide. Mm-hmm. And so navigating the interview process is always its own really exploratory adventure, right? We now know that interviews, and I was just joking the other day that people like Andrea and I take the blame for all of this. Job seeking used to be one way, then coaches and groups like mine came in and we simplified the process. We made it easier. We let people hack the system. And now that the system's been hacked, the gauntlet has been thrown down, and the hiring managers and other people of this world are out here making it even harder for us. So the next step of this was they created the applicant tracking system. Then we figured out how to hack the applicant tracking system, and then we figured out how to hack interview questions. And now they've created the whole entire interview process. And so, you have the recruiter screen, the screen with a hiring manager, conversations with prospective colleagues. You have homework, you have conversations with other members. Sometimes they'll throw in, the accountants just to see if you're thrown off your game, to ask you random questions. And then you hit the offer negotiation stage. And knowing who you're going to talk to in this entire process is going to make a big difference. Mm-hmm. And and so what is interviewing these days, right? Your hiring managers and your chief executive officers don't want you to know this, but it's two major things. It's mitigating risk and it's painting yourself as the best hire. And if you're an entry-level college kid, they want to know that you're going to burn the house down, but you're not going to burn the whole house down, and you're going to have it under control. And every single question you get along this entire process is going to come down to these two. And you're going to have to be able to understand what they're asking, whether they want you to show that you're not a risk or whether you're the best candidate. And we're going to show you why. And so you're going to get those types of questions, right? They'll be informational that tell you to walk me through your resume. They're going to be situational. They're going to tell you about a time when you successfully launched a project or got into an argument with someone and what happened there. Or they're going to ask you the hypothetical, like, if you were going to put ping pong balls in a 747, what would you do? Or maybe something more reasonable, like, if you were handed everything that Google markets tomorrow, what would be the first strategy you would take on? And so being able to understand those questions are going to show whether you're a risk or whether you're the best hire possible.
Yeah, I know Google likes to ask these questions in a lot of their interviews, and it's more about the thought process. How do you?
And we have somebody on Google here on this call today, so maybe he asked those questions himself, and he can tell us why. Maybe the best way to answer those questions.
And I've also been hit with a couple of those questions before when I was interviewing years ago at some ad tech startups that wanted to be like Google.
Yeah. Yep.
Another slide that I think it's really important, I cannot stress this enough, especially with a lot of client conversations and coaching that I have when it comes to interviews. First of all, it's a two-way street. It is not an interrogation, it's a conversation. As much as they need to interview you to determine if you're the best fit, you also need to determine whether or not this company is going to be the best fit for this point in your career. So a couple of buckets that these questions fall into. Just what's the process going to be like so that you can manage your expectations? Realistically, when are they looking to fill the position? A lot of places are just like, oh, we needed this yesterday. Well, timeline. When do you want it by? What's the next step? And in, like about half the states now in this country, New York, California, Massachusetts, in that initial screening conversation, they can tell you what budget is allocated towards your role. So don't be afraid. And I actively encourage everybody when they're interviewing to just confirm what the salary is going to be in the initial conversation. They do not need to know what you were making before. That has no relevance to what you're asking now. So if you get asked that, again, redirect it. What's the budget that was allocated towards this role? Let's confirm that. Another bucket, performance. How is your performance going to be evaluated? What are the goals you're looking to hit, etc.? And quality of life. What's the culture like? What does the future hold for the company? If the company has negative Glassdoor reviews, if they're in the news, how are they handling that? What steps are they taking to get better? And the management, what's your future manager going to be like? What's their style? There's so many things that you need to consider so that, when you do get to a good stage, you have multiple offers, you have everything that you need in order to make the best decision moving forward.
Yep. And so I know, Tevik, you have a question. This is very marketing specific, so we're going to answer that at the end. Caroline, I know you asked a question. You said you're pretty good at going for what you want when you know what it is and you're reinventing yourself. And whether this event is for those who already know what they want or not. So there's actually a couple of ways to look at what we're doing here and how we're going to go into the boot camp in a little bit here. And so number one, if you don't know what you want in marketing, we will provide clarity around that. And if you do know what it is that you want, then this is only going to be even better because we're going to give you the tools, we're going to give you the resources, and we're going to give you pretty much everything from your LinkedIn messages that you're going to message people with to all the different interview questions and answers and mock interview opportunities that you need to make all of that a reality. And so we're going to talk about that in a little bit when some of you may have questions. And I also want to mention that, Andrea does do our LinkedIn presentations for Albert's List too. So she'll give you the whole entire skinny that you want on LinkedIn and be able to get you there. And so let us know if you have any additional questions from that, and we can definitely help answer them. So in regards to this slide, right, I wanted to dive in a little bit more on mitigating risk. Mitigating risk is, as we talked about, one half of the job search, job hunt process when it comes to interviewing. And so what is mitigating risk? Mitigating risk is that companies want to know that you align with them. They want to make sure that you're applying for those jobs for the very right reasons, and that you're going to get along with the hiring manager, and that people are going to like you. Colleagues want to know that they can count on you. Leaders know that they want to be able to count on you so you can make them look good, because after all, fortunately, for better or for worse, you may be helping a CEO buy their third yacht. Or in the case of Oracle, I helped Larry Ellison purchase a $345 million hotel resort in Lake Tahoe this last week. And so even though I don't speak to Larry Ellison specifically, it's my skills and my capabilities are helping him do those things with his life. And I'll also want you to understand what's at stake. And so when it comes to what's at stake, right, a lot of us think about in our job search that we're going to go in there and we're going to get that job and we're going to enjoy ourselves, and that they're going to hire us because they need us and they want us there. But the real reality of it is that not a lot of companies want to hire people, but they are going to hire people because they know if they don't, they're not going to be able to get to the next level. Or even as we can see right now in the Great Resignation, with so many companies lacking talent, just staying and surviving and thriving. And so when it comes to wondering about what the stakes are, it's everything from your role to what matters and doesn't matter, to understanding why that job exists in the first place. And let's go to the next slide here. And so during the interview process, when you think about your job interview, when you think about what it is that you're doing with your life, it's always wondering how you relate to every single person in the company ecosystem that you're working for. Because you're going to be touching customers, you're going to be working with your boss directly. You have colleagues that you're going to serve. You have a company that you're looking to take to the next level, and you're going to be evolving in industry. And so what's at stake for each and every one of these individuals, right? And that's an exercise that is something that you have to do during your job search process so that you can answer the interview question. Because I can assure you, most of your colleagues are not going into interviews thinking, I'm wondering if, what my colleagues really need to get done today. It's more like, how do I get to, my next 2 weeks here so I can get my paycheck and do a decent job so that they won't let me go. And so you're going to want to be at the forefront of that. You're going to want to make sense of that. You're going to want to deep dive and understand based on the company website, based on the conversations with the recruiter and the hiring manager, based on the research that you do on your own of what really matters. Next slide. And so I just talked a little bit about this, of how you do to determine the stakes. You do your research, you get the 360-degree view, you dive deep into the specifics during and after the interview process. And finally, you embrace your self-awareness like we've been talking about, and you connect with what you want, you connect with what you're committed to, and how you want to change this slice of the world around you. I really enjoy working in the HR software as a service space, which is what Oracle, one of the many things that Oracle touches, because I really think it's interesting that we have different ways to view the workforce today. And it's something that I've enjoyed doing for the last 2.5 years. Next slide. And so the next piece we want to talk about that's really important in being able to find your next job is being able to elevate yourself, navigate that change, build leadership, build credibility, right? Even if you are somebody who is really new into your career, you have leadership skills. You have the ability to come in to a job and you have that vision and you have that ability to navigate all this change. We do a similar boot camp here that I'm going to talk about in a couple moments that talks about helping people get into tech. And, in tech, dynamics are huge because there's always reorgs coming out. There's always a company that tried to go to market but didn't end up succeeding. And how do you talk about that in an interview process? I went to a startup, they had a really cool widget, and this widget made it to market and nobody bought it. And, even though we captured $50 million in funding and a $2 billion valuation, we ended up closing 3 weeks later because, nobody cared about us. And, I'm here in this interview to do this because, the following things are important. And so those are the questions that you have to be able to answer. Next slide. And so, what are dynamics, right? Dynamics are things that we just mentioned, flexibility or adjustments to business changes. Everyone here who's at least worked in Silicon Valley, I know, has been a part of the layoff, or maybe you've been let go and you need to explain that. Or, with a lot of the things that are happening these days with artificial intelligence, machine learning, and all of these things, what is your ability to capture those new skills and how do you communicate that, right? We all say in our interview process, oh, I'm a fast learner, or I can get up to speed quickly, but what do those things really mean? And how do you inspire faith and reduce and mitigate that risk around that? Because, if you don't have any marketing background at all, but you have those transferable skills, how do you loop that in to show that you can capture those new skills and make sense of that? Next slide.
Well, one thing that I would say, especially when it comes to skills, is that you really need to make sure you're highlighting the hard skills. So, Albert kind of alluded to soft skills like fast learner, team player, organized. A lot of that is going to be implied with whatever job you have, whether it's in marketing or any other industry. So anything that's going to be related to hard skills, if you don't have experience with the different platforms or running campaigns or what have you, then there's going to be other areas where there's still going to be an overlap. I'm sure, like there's whatever numbers you were involved with whatever reporting, any money that you were involved with, there's budgeting, like you still have to keep track of spend. So a lot of that, like those specific tangible things that you can measure, that needs to be emphasized more in these conversations.
Yep. And so the next piece we want to talk about is vision, right? Vision is actually one of the most exciting pieces, whether you're a new graduate, whether you're somebody who is experienced, because it is your addition to the company. Yes, Larry Ellison owns the island of Lanai, or 98% of it at least. And so, he founded a company and now he's doing all of these things with real estate and more. And so it's actually pretty great. And so when it comes to your vision, going back to that, it's, how do you align with the vision of what the company wants? Can you imagine yourself being in that chair, being the chief marketing officer? I know that for me, my ability to know whether I'm successful in any role or not does hinge actually on me thinking through that role as I'm interviewing and thinking, is there something that I can come up with today that I could put together as a plan that would really be something that I own that takes this company to the next level? And that's actually one of the most exciting things, because it really shows that your addition to that company is valuable. If you're just there to, ride on the bus and be in the back of the bus and not think about something in depth, then, you have to think about whether marketing is something that you want. But on the other hand, if you can think through, like, we're going to distribute content this way, we're going to get to know our customers in this way, and our customers are these people, and we're going to align that with an email, social media, live event, virtual event, maybe even a physical mailing strategy, then that's going to be huge and different in terms of how you think through things. Yeah. And so that's your vision, and that's something that, when you look at the different models of marketing that there are, whether it's the inbound marketing strategy or what have you, it's going to really make that change.
Mm-hmm. And it's really important. Everything needs to go back to growth. So in the very beginning, the sole purpose, the sole function of the marketing department in any organization is to grow that business, mostly through inbound. So it's nothing like it, with outbound, we're not selling anything. Outbound in this case would be anything paid, but anything that you would have to do goes back. So that's why it's really important to make sure that things are going to be tangible. And as you build your stories, it's so important to keep track of everything so that you could say, yeah, so even if it's something, like kind of simple and entry level, for lack of a better term, like if you're a social media coordinator, you can still, there's so many different areas of impact and so much potential in social media that you can still own, as at least like take partial credit if you don't outright own it. Like, yeah, I oversaw our Instagram account. We 10x the followers from 100 to 10, 1,000 and what have you. Just like any ways that you can really show growth. There's so many different ways that you can interpret that data and tell that story with data, going back to that vision and how you can expand upon it.
Yep. And so that actually aligns with a good question that we had, where Lucy in the Facebook chat asked, do you recommend that? How do you guys feel about building proposals as part of the interviewing process? And I think that if that's something that is asked for, you should absolutely do it. But if you have to verbalize it, then that's definitely better and something to do. Andrea, I see we have a question that Pacific's added into the chat. Before we move on into metrics, let's answer that question, since I know you could probably answer this question better than I. He asks, or they ask, I am an entry-level digital marketer. How and where should I start applying to? My experience isn't much, and it seems I am having a problem.
So I think, and we could potentially expand upon this a little bit more, as anybody in entry level. One drawback is that there's going to be a good amount of competition. I always advise people to don't just stop at just applying to a job. Start connecting with people, talk to people, see what exactly does the job entail, so that that could be part of your narrative. So like, say if it's just like, if it's a marketing assistant, that could be pretty broad, unless it's just for social media. What would you be doing? Would you be doing content? Would you be doing reporting? What would you be responsible for? How would your performance be measured? So that does involve like a deeper dive in terms of what they'd be looking for. I always advocate for people to just start, especially when applying, to just get some momentum going, and then see. That way you can also determine, okay, where are the areas of improvement here? So if you're applying to 100 jobs and you haven't gotten any interviews, then the resume might need tweaking. I can help you with that. But if you are getting interviews, but you're not getting any offers, then you might be coming across, you might not be presenting yourself as strongly as you should be in those conversations. So mock interviews could be in order. Then there might be some questions that there might be some gaps in your responses. So there's a lot of different there's a lot of different areas in the job search. So it really does depend on where you're at in your search. But even if you feel as if you don't have enough experience, and I see this a lot, not just with entry-level men and women, but especially other women and other women of color, is that we kind of talk ourselves out of it. You just got to do it anyway, because a job description, more often than not, it is highly, highly unlikely that anybody is going to check off every single box in a job description. It's
job
just
descriptions are wish lists. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, some of them could be pretty accurate, others not so much. Just go for it anyway. Worst thing that's going to happen is you never hear from them, and it's like, okay, no harm, no foul. But yeah, if you don't go for something, then you're not going to be able to get it. So hope that answers your question. And if anything, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, and we can have a more in-depth discussion so I can get a better understanding of your specific problem areas.
Yep. So we're going to move on to metrics here. So the next part of talking about with regards to your job search when it comes to your leadership and dynamics is understanding your metrics. Metrics are a big piece of the marketing pie, because now more than ever, people are trying to connect metrics to sales, and they're trying to connect sales back to the broader performance of the business. And so how are you able to present quantifiable business impact, show how you impact the bottom line, and deliver your projects on time is a big part. And so If you've done that in previous industries, previous roles, it's always going to help you because marketing is the kind of place where your projects are many and your deadlines are crazy and you just have to meet those expectations. Next
Yeah.
slide.
It's not just about making creative things or just like having a splash. Like, okay, you could be part of creative, you could be on the agency side where you can make award-winning ads that go viral, ads that end up in the Super Bowl. But at the end of the day, everything needs to go back to impact and revenue.
Yep.
If you're able to deliver. Yeah.
And then the next piece is leadership, right? So depending on where you are in your career, whether you just started or whether you're a senior professional, you have leadership skills. It's, you don't have to have a senior director or chief something behind your title to have that. But how you communicate your leadership skills matters a lot. And, for me, when I look at leadership, it comes down to two things. One is the ability to influence, and another is context driven. So how do you build your credibility in terms of what your skills are to be able to show other people that you are influential and that you have something and something substantial to say, and then context driven when it comes to projects, when it comes to situations where something is on the line. How do you respond to all of those things? Next slide. And then we come to offer letters and negotiation. Offer letters, personally, my favorite part. Negotiations are something that I'm not as great at, but I look to other people for their guidance.
Yeah.
And so, when
Sorry.
it comes to your offer letter, it's, you made it to the very end and now they want you, but it's only official when it's in writing and you have something to sign. And so these are all the interesting things because when you look at an offer letter, whether you're getting one for the very first time or it's your umpteenth one, they all have different terms that they want out of you. And for marketing, it's an interesting one too, because they sometimes don't want you to have conflicts of interest. They want to make sure that you can work late hours, or they want to make sure that you can that you can go to events, right? Events are really fun. You might be going to Vegas for a conference, but you're not going to go gamble, in Vegas. You're going to go and you're going to stand at a booth for 12 hours a day. And that's going to be an experience in itself. Next slide.
It is. I've had some fun Vegas conferences.
Yeah.
And
then, oh yeah, go ahead.
So I can't emphasize enough the importance of doing your research with salary negotiation. These are a couple of sites that I recommend where you can get a pretty in-depth overview of what the range is specific to your region. And that is going to be, as we kind of like navigate through this new normal, as more companies would be looking for remote or hybrid, location could still potentially play a factor. That's why you also need to know your numbers. I'm in New York. A lot of people are in the Bay Area. These are not cheap places to live, but we need to be at a certain income level. And it's really important to establish that. And that's what I had mentioned when we were talking about interviewing. You always have to establish from the beginning where they're at. Because whatever range you give them, that's going to be the range you have to play within. You don't have to worry about anybody trying to revoke an offer. If you just if you overshoot yourself, they would just say, for the most part, like a functional organization would just stay firm, like, hey, this is the ceiling. You wanted to get 200, but max they offer is 150. That's the max. It might not be a fit. Then you'd have to make that decision or use it as leverage to find a 200K offer. That's where negotiating would come into play.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you want to take it from here, Albert?
I'll take it from here. So let's go to the next slide. And so with all of this information in hand and all of this information in mind, we want to go into, let's see, the next slide. We want to talk about what it means to really help you and help you transition, or if you're looking for a little bit more assistance, make it to your next marketing job. So if you enjoyed that, we have more. And I'd like to introduce to you the 8 weeks to employed with Albert Bliss Marketing Bootcamp. It's an accountability program that we have that is you and anyone else that wants to join us. And it's Albert Bliss led with external presenters that include recruiters, career coaches, myself, Andrea, and others to help you through an 8-week process to help you find your next job. And we're starting our next cohort to help a group of lucky marketers get into their next role. And it's going to be, well, a little bit more than 8 weeks, because I guess for better or for worse, we're heading into the holiday season. And so we're going to be starting on November 2nd, and then we're going to be going into Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's for breaks. And it goes all the way until January 13th. So I can safely say that if you decide to start this, you're going to be able to have a new marketing career or get close to it right as 2022 hits. So if you're somebody who is who is making your New Year's resolutions now, which you have plenty of time to do so, and changing your career is one of these. This is going to be one of the things to look for. And so go to the next slide. And so Tatevik, I know you have a question, and I have an answer for you on that. So with regards to that, we have what you get with this program are a couple of things. You get Monday night mock interviews. So if you're looking to get interviewed and practice your interview skills, we have a recruiter who is a recruiter at Google and his own career coach who does mock interviews every single Monday for free. You have free tickets to our upcoming workshops, and we have quite a few workshops upcoming at any given basis. We meet virtually over Zoom on a weekly basis, and there's one-on-one time available with me or Andrea if you really need to get there. And there's an exclusive LinkedIn chat to get support that you're going to have throughout the bootcamp and even after the bootcamp as you network with participants. And for the first 5 only today, and I sound like it sounds like somebody.
There is nothing wrong with it. It's like we are.
The first 5 people who sign up today, it'll be $99, and the price goes up from there. And I know I have a few people, and we have an Eventbrite page that I'm going to go ahead and link you to here. It just went live as this event went live, and I'm going to go ahead and link that. And we do have a couple of people who are in this chat today who have been a part of our current 8 weeks to employed cohort, and they have experienced really great results from it so far. In fact, a couple of them have already gotten job offers in the last 8 weeks. I'm going to go ahead and let Carla talk while I go and look for the Eventbrite link if she's available to talk.
I do have to stress the importance of the value here, as myself and other coaches for a similar 8-week intensive program to just prepare you for everything you need to land your next best job would be thousands of dollars. Like me personally, I would charge between $3,000 to $5,000 like outside of this, but I wanted to, Albert and I, we feel so passionate about helping people this overall. And since marketing is just so near and dear to our hearts, this is like a gift for the holiday season.
Yep. And Carla, you got a job while in our boot camp. Can you talk a little bit about your experience?
I got a job today.
Yeah, she got an offer today.
I am drinking my bottle of wine.
She did it in 7 weeks, not 8.
I'm drinking my bottle of wine that cost me over $100. It's been sitting here for the right occasion, and guess what? It's the right occasion.
Great. I'll drink my tea for you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, so it's week number 7. I did miss 1 week because I traveled, but I found everything to be super helpful. And one of the things that really makes a difference as a job seeker to me is that I think it's a very lonely process. It's a very lonely time. And even though your friends and your family, they realize and they try to help you, they really don't do it consistently. I don't think that people are as committed. They have their obligations and they go on with their lives. And if they see something, they think of you. And I think it's very important to have a tight network where everybody is invested in you. Mm-hmm. And in the boot camp, I felt that everyone in the team was invested in me. I feel like Albert is. Joe, the other guy that you guys are going to meet, he does a wonderful job of, he has this technology, the Loom, where he actually goes through. So if you send him your resume and a job link, he'll go through it and connect the dots for you and say, hey, this is what you need to change. Or if it's an interview that you're having, he'll do the same thing. And yeah, last night we had a wonderful exercise because we've been talking about the about me question and how to prepare, because that about me question has become so impersonal. It's not an icebreaker anymore. I used to think of that question as an icebreaker. So then after that you'd move on to the interview, but now it's all about creating your star story. And we went through a wonderful exercise yesterday, everyone, and I think it's been really helpful. So I think it's just, building your self-esteem in the process, feeling connected, sharing your disappointing stories. We all had disappointing stories. We've been ghosted, and we're sharing and we're learning. Yeah, someone else was ghosted too. And it helps you realize that it's not you, it's the process, it's the time that we're in. But when you're doing it together as a group, it's much more bearable. And yeah, I think that's how I've benefited. I've taken some of the extra workshops that were included in it. I remember taking one workshop specifically that I learned a strategy, and I tried it right away and I got results. I'm not gonna spill the beans for you, but it worked right away, and I was really excited. And I've done some work as a career coach and a resume writer. I have a background in recruiting, and I love to write, and so I've done that for about 70 people, I would say, in total. So I do have that passion. It's just harder when it's you. I feel like it's much easier to help someone else than it is to self coach. But I think everything about the program has been really good. But most of all, it's the human to human connection, and it's knowing that there's a group of people who are really committed to your success. There was a time that I actually called one of the other members on the boot camp. We were kind of feeling down, and we talked on the phone for like an hour. So it's really helpful. Does anybody have any specific questions? Or Albert, is there anything that you want me to talk about? Do you want anything specific to my interview?
No, this is great. This is great. You did one of our mock interviews as well, and I think that helped you along the way, right?
Yeah, it did. I I felt like I failed badly, but you come back from it. You pick up where you were wrong, and yeah, it definitely helps you practice. So I suggest that you do that. I suggest that you participate, because I find that a lot of people won't participate. And my best advice to you is get out there and talk. It's a very friendly group of people. Don't be shy. The more you talk, what did you say before? I think one of you said something about if you don't ask, you don't.
Yeah. Closed mouths don't get
Empty,
fed.
closed mouths get fed. Yep.
It's true with everything.
Yeah, so just be sure to
Asking help.
participate. They want to hear everyone, and the more participation there is, the more you learn from each other. So you're networking and people sharing their stories, frustration, whatever. Everything that's being said in this group is going to benefit someone in that group.
I think I'd also piggyback that another thing that you would consider, and sometimes like I've seen this with some of the clients that I've worked with, is that there might be a sense of pride or shame, like, oh no, what if they see me as a failure? More often than not, again, like we've been very candid about how we've experienced failures and setbacks in our careers, our job losses. It's way more common than you might think. So in a sense, it's almost like trading war stories. So there is absolutely no shame or no like blows to your ego for just saying like, hey, this is what's going on with me. Nobody's gonna think badly of you if you're just sharing about like, a moment where you just need a little help, because failure is never permanent. It is always temporary. It truly is. Even like if you're at a low point in your life. So I'll be a little bit vulnerable. The last job I had in ad tech, we had lost our biggest client. So I was laid off and they couldn't even give me a severance. So I had to dip into unemployment and savings. And I was making, at this point, like I was making like a pretty decent job, had my benefits at 401k. To making at that time $8 an hour while I was waiting to get a better paying job, which took months, but it did pay off in the end because that was when I transitioned into healthcare and I never looked back. And for me, I have that self-awareness back to the
Yeah.
one of the three S's. I wouldn't the agency world is not for me. I feel much more fulfilled being in healthcare. So I know what I want and what I don't want, and I make sure that that comes through without even me explicitly saying it to people. I still have my value system and I create those boundaries for myself. So when I have my conversations with whoever, they know who I am, what I stand for, and what I'd be looking where I would need help or how I can help others.
There are a few questions in the chat, Albert. Do you want me to address them?
Yeah. I'm addressing them currently, and yeah, I addressed Julia's question. And Priya, thank you for registering. I know you're not in marketing, but we could definitely apply similar strategies into what you're learning there. And I think Tatevik has a couple questions for you in terms of how you answered the interview questions. And we'll take that one question, and then we'll move to other Q&A for folks who are in the chat or want to answer their questions in the Q&A as well.
Sure. So the position that I was interviewing for is a social media account manager position. I was actually working in recruiting before, but I also have a marketing and a PR background. So I've gravitated between recruiting and marketing and PR. My master's is in journalism and mass communications with a focus in PR. And I really wanted to take this opportunity to pivot to PR. I feel I'm a creative person. I like to communicate. I like to express. I like to bring people together. And I have a radio show at Stanford. I play music from all over the world. It's a choice that I made, which reflects my personality. I'm about bringing the world together, whether it's something that I'm doing for fun or for work. So I really wanted to move into the social, the creative, the marketing. And in this role, I will be managing the account for the Sunnyvale Business Association, which is something that I have done in my past life, always in my after 5 p.m., as I call it. I've had two parallel careers. I've had a professional, regular corporate career, and I've done a lot of things on the side, and it's been a very confusing moment. But I said, if I've been doing all this stuff after 5, obviously it's important to me. Why can't I do the after 5 in my day job so that I don't need to have two parallel careers? So this is where I was going with this. And being that the client's going to be the Sunnyvale Business Association, they want to enhance economic growth. They want to make downtown Sunnyvale a destination, not just for people for entertainment, but also for business, for conferences. So really drive traffic there. They organize 16 events per year. And it really aligned with everything that I have done on the side. As far as what the interview was like, it was nothing like Corey. Corey was my hard interview. My interview for this job was more of a conversation. And I think once you exit this tech world here in the Silicon Valley, which does grill you on impact, right? Everything is about your star story. What'd you do? What was the impact? Give me numbers. But this one was more of a conversation, and I could talk about everything else that I had done in my previous life. And I think my aha moment was when the guy said, how would you feel if I send you somewhere to interview a business? Let's say there's a new business downtown, a restaurant, and you're going to interview the owners and put together a story, maybe 500 words. And I thought about it and I said, well, I'm already doing that. I am a part of the elite squad on Yelp, and it's something that I've done voluntarily just because I like to write and I like to help small businesses. And I like photography, so I like photographing things, food, ambiances, and part of my creative soul. And And I said, yeah, I already do that. I do reviews on Yelp. And so it would be something like that, a little bit more enhanced if it's a story for the website. And being that he also considers himself to be a multi potentialite, he's done a lot of different things as well. I think my story resonated with him. And he also saw one of my podcasts. I have two segments on the radio on Stanford. One is Global Jinga, which is my world music, and the second one is the Job Search Empowerment News. So I report on labor information, employment trends. I interview career coaches, and he saw one of those. So he saw me in action. So that helped. So that's a piece of advice. If you have any work out there that you can point to, might be of benefit to you. So that's kind of like how it all came together. Are there any other questions that I can answer, Albert?
Let's see. No, I don't have any other questions you can answer.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So let's move into other general Q&A and go from there.
Yeah. Oh, I think I would mention that I know that throughout the course of the presentation, and Carla had said like STAR questions, STAR interviews. The STAR is an acronym for those of you that don't know. It stands for situation, task, action, result. So when in the interview process, you want to, again, going back into narrative, a compelling story has structure, beginning, middle, end. I personally think like a particular tactic you can do is, especially when any situational questions come up, tell me about a time where you handled a conflict. Tell me about a success story. You could say, well, I have one success story about how I was able to, and this is one of my personal success stories, I was able to double new patient volume for a new physician for practice in just a couple of months, and here's how I did it. So kind of starting with the end and providing a high enough level overview of what you've been able to do. You do not need to go into the nuts and bolts of it because you'd be there the whole time, and we all got stuff to do. But again, just providing just enough of a higher level overview so that they're intrigued and they're convinced that, okay, there's clear competence in this specific area. Let's continue the conversation. Okay. Yeah, just wanted to clarify that in case anybody wasn't 100% sure.
Wonderful. All right. So I see that 4 people have purchased the 99 early bird. So we have one more that's available there. And so if you have any additional questions, if we have, I guess, yeah. hurry while things last. But let's go to our final slide, Andrea. And, if anybody has any questions, we are here to help you. So just calendar dates and timeline. Our fall program here starts on November 2nd and is weekly with breaks for the holiday season. So we will not meet Thanksgiving and we will not meet the 2 weeks between Christmas and the New Year. However, if you want to talk, we're always going to be available through our LinkedIn chat group and other means as well. And so we are here to support you. We are here to help you. And the boot camp will run to January 13th. So again, if you are looking for that new year, new me, and transitioning careers into marketing as a part of that, we are here to help you make that happen. And where possible, sessions will be recorded and made available on YouTube. But you are encouraged to attend live because we're going to go over a lot of different things that you may have any questions in there too. And so, yeah, once you sign up, and I see that some of you have, we're going to go ahead and send you Google Calendar invites for all of those 8 weeks, which start at either 5 or 6 p.m. Pacific on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and go from there. So if you have any other thoughts, let me go ahead and resend this link here. We'll
also put this in the email when we send out the deck to everybody.
Yep. And so, if there are no other questions, you know what? Join the Albert's List community at the very least. There is value upon value being provided there. This is very specific though. If you want to break into marketing or if you see something similar, we are here to offer you that value. And I make it my mission.
Oh no, Albert muted himself. So
boot camp. And so, let us know how we can be of that service. Let Andrea know, and we can be here to help you.
do not hesitate to reach out to us on LinkedIn. As you know, I've done many webinars with Albert in the past. I'm obviously going to continue with sharing LinkedIn expertise. You can connect with me there. If you require any additional coaching beyond the boot camp, happy to have that conversation with you as well. And again, whatever your need, our mission is to help you break into a successful role in marketing and help you make that money. What your investment with us, you're going to get it back. Like that, I have no doubt in my mind. I have faith in you guys.
I have faith too, and I'm looking forward to helping all of you achieve that future. So this video will be recorded. It'll go on a YouTube channel.
I'll follow up with all of you. And I look forward to serving you starting November 2nd and through the holiday season.
Same here. All right.
Yeah.
So have a happy and safe Halloween. Celebrate responsibly, have fun. And we look forward to helping our bootcamp recipients, our bootcamp participants, and looking forward to the next event. Take care, everybody.
Thank you. Talk to you all later. Bye-bye.
Night.